Good morning. This is VirtualPBX-admin training. I'm going to give people a minute or so here to get joined in and join us. If you are a vConsole customer, we are no longer doing the live trainings for vConsole. However, we do have a recorded training on our website. If you go to virtualpbx.com, mouse over support, and then you click on vConsole support, scroll down about a third of the way, and you'll see the recorded videos for training. And further below them, you'll see the actual relevant individual guides for each of the features on vConsole. Likewise for Dash, if for some reason you're not able to stick with us through the whole training today, we have recorded trainings on our website as well as on our YouTube channel. Again, mouse over support, select Dash support, scroll down about a third, you'll see the videos, and below that, you'll see the individual guides for the features. All the guides will have screenshots if they're relevant for the guide, so you can see what to expect as you navigate through the system. And what else? You can also find the various forms you'll need on the website. Things like the letter of agency for porting a phone number, and also for Dash, the auto provisioning guides, which will tell you the URL you need to enter into your phone's user interface. But looks like we're just about 10 o'clock, so let's go ahead and get started. So up here on the screen here, we've got the Dash login page, which is just dash.virtualpbx.com. And it's asking for your username, your password, and your account name. Now, the username is going to be your email address. It's going to be unique for each user. Password, hopefully, was emailed to you. And then the account name, typically your company name. Now, if for some reason you don't have this information, like you missed the email, for example, or it got, shuttled off into your spam or junk mail folders, you can just click on Forgot Your Info, and it's going to ask you for your email address is one of the key things, as well as the company name or one of your company phone numbers that you have on your account with us. And then I'll send you an email saying, hey, reset your password. One caveat about the reset password: when you click on that link and set a new password, the system logs you out and makes you log back in with that new password. Obviously, if you already have the information, I suggest putting the check mark here for remembering you, so you don't have to keep typing in the password. And then you go ahead and click Sign In. All right, so here is the dashboard on this account. However, if you're a new sign-up or were newly moved to Dash, then you will actually start off on a page looking like this. This is your account information, so you could change your email here, for example, as well as your password. Mostly people look at their time zone and possibly their time of date, the display options here. You also have an account option here. So this is where you can change the account's time zone, which is the major thing people change. And again, you can change the account up here if necessary. Now, this is a test account. So on your accounts, you'll have a section down here for your billing information. So things like you can update your credit card. You should be able to see your plan information. And I believe you can download invoices here. Or at least that's something that's coming. Now, the Dash wizard will also have popped up to guide you through these various things. But when you're done, go ahead and close this up here, and now you're on our main dashboard. Now, along the top, again, you can always click on your name to get to the account information. Got a little question mark icon here, and that gets you to a couple different things. Oops, here we go. So first, chat. That basically opens up a chat window to get to our support team, so they can walk you through various aspects that you may be having problems with. Down below, we have a link to our support pages, right? So you can look up the relevant guides that you're interested in, depending on the feature. Over here, we've got the link to the online store. So if you need to order a VoIP phone or a soft phone, or a router or headset, that sort of thing. And then we have the link, link here for the web phone. The web phone is a kind of soft phone. Basically, it makes use of Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls. You do have to have a web phone added to your user, which we'll get to in a little while. Then we've got the 3 horizontal line icon or menu icon. So we are on the dashboard right now. And then we have these other features. Some of these features are still in beta, like reports, and some won't apply to you, like webhooks you may or not make use of. And then we have the dashboard itself. So over here on the left, these are your main included features of Dash, which we'll be going over today. And then over here, we got users. So these are all the people on your account. Depending on your plan, adding users may increase your bill. So you'll want to double check that before you add too many users. Basically, if you have, there's unlimited user plans, I think, and unlimited minute plans. If you're not sure what plan you're on, you can always contact our account services team and they can verify the plan that you're on. Next up, we got devices. So on this account, I have 56 devices spread amount, well, basically on the account. They're probably associated with users, but they don't have to be. Now, we have a breakdown here. So 23 are cell phones, pretty self-explanatory. We got 17 web phones. Again, makes use of Chrome or Firefox, typically on a computer to make and receive calls. This is a kind of soft phone, right? Software application, acts like the phone. Your computer will need a network connection and to get out on the internet to make use of the web phone. The soft phone would be, again, a software application, uses your internet connection to make and receive calls. This could be something from, you'd be using our VirtualPBX software application. You could be using someone else's software application, right, third party. Let's see, next up we have, should be the SIP phone. Yeah, SIP phone is a physical VoIP phone, right? So this is going to sit on a desk somewhere. Now, SIP is a subtype of VoIP phone, right? VoIP is voice over internet protocol, and there are a variety of types out there. So the kind that works with us typically is called SIP. It stands for Session Interface Protocol, I believe. So if you go out in a store and you're looking around at their VoIP phone section, just double check to make sure it says SIP compliant, and then it at least has a good chance to work with us. All right, landline, pretty self-explanatory. Unregistered devices, this typically refers to your VoIP devices. So I have 17 of them are not registered, meaning I can't send calls to them, nor can you make calls out from them. Now that could be just someone forgot to turn it on, someone lost their internet connection, what have you. Total numbers, these are all the phone numbers on the account. Your account plan includes anywhere from 1 to 15 phone numbers as part of your plan price, right? So you're not charged extra for those phone numbers. Once you go over that, then by default, you're charged anywhere from $1 to $5 per month per phone number, unless it's an international number, which might be more. Depends on the number. All right, so assigned numbers and spare numbers. Assigned number means you're using it. It's going to somewhere, right? It can be your main company number. It could be your salesman Bob's personal number goes right to him. It could be a number to your billing department, a number, for your faxing or for your conferencing, whatever. But in some fashion, someone can dial that number and it's going to get to your system. All right, spare numbers, still on your account. So if you're over your allotment, you would be charged for it, but it's not ringing anyone. It's a number you're saving for a later use, or you would just been using it for like a special promotion. That promotion's over, and you don't want any calls about it anymore. All right, then we got the breakdown between, in this case, USCID and US toll-free. Right, toll-free, 800 number. 888 all the way down to 833 currently. USCID, that just is shorthand for a US local phone number. So say a number in Las Vegas, Nevada versus say a number in Albuquerque, New Mexico, or in New York City. You can also have a section here for international numbers. If you're interested in international numbers, you can email our porting team, porting@virtualpbx.com. They'll need to know the city and country that you're interested in. They'll let you know A, if it's available, and B, if there's any special requirement to get that number. Like Germany, for example, needs proof of presence within that city, usually like a utility bill. It's going to vary from country to country. All right, and then down here, conference bridges, 6. Basically, what this means is I have enabled the conference bridge feature on 6 of my users. So 6 people can host a conference. Over here, these are all my main numbers. So these are my general numbers that customers call if they don't already have someone's direct phone number. These numbers will all behave the same way in terms of they'll go to the same place initially. For instance, if they're all going to my virtual receptionist, they'll all have the same main greeting. Conference number, you can have multiple conference numbers. And basically, this is what anyone dials to get to one of your conference bridges. Your fax box number, you can only have one. This is to receive faxes predominantly. It also enables faxing in general on the account. And we'll get into a little bit. I cover faxing in a couple of different spots, so we'll get to that shortly. Then we've got the company directory. If you download this, this is just a text file, shows all your users with their extensions. Next one down here, the soft phone directory. This is for use with all the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone application. Basically, you download this file and then upload it to the soft phone application. And then what will show up on your soft phone is on your contacts, you'll have a list of all your coworkers who have the VirtualPBX soft phone listed there, and you can see if they're on a call with that soft phone or not. Right? Green means, hey, they're not on the call. Red, they're on the call. All right, store discount code. Just for being a Dash customer, you get a discount in our online store. And then lastly, we've got here the account realm. The account realm is used for a couple different things. One of those things is to program a third-party soft phone application or VoIP phone, right? As we get into devices, you might see like, oh, I have a Cisco phone, but it's not listed among the auto-provisionable phones. You can still probably program that phone to work with us, and one of the pieces of information you would need is this account realm. The other thing it's used for is for faxing out. On Dash, currently, faxing is an email to fax system. So you create an email. In the to field of that email, you put a plus sign, number 1, area code and phone number of where you're faxing to, little @ symbol, and then your account realm. And then you attach a PDF or TIFF file to that email and send it off. Now, nothing in that email gets transmitted other than the attachment, right? So you can send one attachment per email, i.e. one fax per email. But like if you type in the body of that email, that typing just doesn't go through because the system is only picking up the attachment and sending it out. If you have multiple attachments by accident, the system will send out one of them. But from what we've seen, it's random on which one it sends out. All right, up here is caller ID. So this is your main company caller ID. Now, unfortunately, the streaming software I'm using doesn't always show the pull downs, but you can select any of your main numbers. Up here, we've got the company caller ID name. This can be up to 15 characters, including spaces and special characters. It's an industry standard. Basically, once you click on Save Changes here, that information gets transmitted to the other carriers who support CNAME. It takes up to 3 business days for all of these carriers to update their servers. It's usually a little bit less than that, but 3 days is the safe time frame. Something to keep in mind about the CNAME. So your calls could route through any number of carriers. Some of those carriers will not support CNAME. So if your call happens to route through one of those, your CNAME information does not get transmitted to your destination. Even for the carriers who do support CNAME, it's a low priority, right? First priority, connect the call. Second one, show the phone number. And then in a distant third is the CNAME information. So if they're having heavier than expected call volume, for instance, today in the US, it's election day. Some areas may have very high call volume. The CNAME information will probably not go through. Obviously, if a carrier is having an outage or a major maintenance issue, also may not go through. The last thing to keep in mind is for CNAME is if you're calling someone and they have your phone number programmed into their phone already, right? Whatever the phone has labeled for you, that takes precedence over anything we send. All right. Down below here, we've got the company emergency information, or E911, basically your main company address. And you can set it up for each phone number, right? So if you have different offices with each phone number, you can set them up individually. And any changes, you click on the Save Changes button. All right. Hold music. So on Dash, hold music is defined as after a call is connected to a user, and then the user presses hold on their VoIP phone. That's where this comes into play. You can select the default file here. Actually, we can upload your own. For Dash, you can upload .wav, .wav, or .mp3 files. I do recommend that you record in mono, not in stereo, and you go under 1 megabyte in file size. But then you would click on the little blue and white up arrow here, and then click on Save Changes. Now, hours, this falls under the main number. So let's just go to main number, and we'll go through everything. All right. So up here, we've got your main company numbers. Now, the big red unassigned means if you don't want a number as your main number anymore, you can click on that. And now that removes it as a main number. However, it's still on your account. It just moves to a spare number. If you want to add numbers, again, you can add from spare. So any of the numbers you already have on the account, so I have these two here. Let's say, oh no, I don't want one of those. I want something different. You can click on By Numbers. So local, boom, you would look for a specific area code. Let's go with, let's see if there's anything in 323. All right, so now you see the available 323 phone numbers. And you can click on multiple if you want, but just click Add. And now you see I have one in my cart. It shows me the number. I can remove it from the cart by clicking on the little trash can, or I can just buy the number. Now, what it's going through here is verifying the number was still available. Now moving it to my account and making it ready for me. Now, little gear icon here, you can update the caller ID of an individual number, right? So the CNAME information, as well as to allow it to see inbound CNAME information. You can adjust the E911 information, again, the address. Right, we got prepend, and I'll show you this. This allows you to put text in front of the caller ID. Now, this text will show up only on your VoIP devices, but it's a way to give you and your staff members an idea of what the call is about before they actually pick up, right? They'll see, I can, let's say if I put this as, see if the software will let me type in here or not. Oh, I guess not. All right, but you could put in, say, LA test in front of, as the text here. That will show up as part of the caller ID information on the phone, on the wait phones that the calls end up going to. Messaging is for very soon now, we'll be able to accept texting on our main numbers and numbers to users, and that's what the messaging thing is for. And then syncing is to make sure that the number is in its proper state, i.e. it's not a spare number versus an active number. Now, any place you can add a phone number, you can add some spare or by numbers. So if you want to add it directly to a user, to a ring group, to a queue, etc., you can do it all right from there, that spot. You don't have to go someplace specific to add a number first and then move it. All right, office hours strategy. So by default, new accounts are set to 24-hour open office, meaning your system's ready to take calls. You just need to get it, make sure it's set up. Most people choose custom office hours. So for each day of the week that you're open, you put a check mark. And then in the boxes to the right, you select your open hours in 24-hour or military time. Like down here at the bottom also, you put a check mark here for are you closed for lunch? So your facility closes for lunch at the same time every day. And then you can set those hours here if you're so inclined. Next up, we got office holidays. So first and foremost, if you're closed for holidays, put a check mark there at the top. And then over here to the right, you've got the add holiday options: single day, date range, and advanced. All right, single day, pretty easy. When you select an option here, it'll create a new row. You give it a name, like I have here for President's Day, and then you put the month and the date. And then you click on Save Changes. So when in this case, when February 19th or 18th rolls around, the system will automatically put me into holiday mode. All right. So date range, like we have up here for Christmas. Again, give it a name, give it a start date, 23rd, and then end date of December 26th. So now, once the 23rd hits, the system puts me in holiday. Then after the 26th, it puts me back into open hours. One caveat about date range is for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You notice that there's no year indicator on these holidays. So if you have a date range that includes December 31st and January 1st, the system puts you in holiday mode all year. So the recommendation is do individual days for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. All right, and then advanced is like this retreat option here. I'm just saying the first Friday in July, doesn't matter what year, doesn't matter what the date is, just whatever that first Friday is, the company's on holiday, right? It's the annual company picnic. And again, if you make any changes, click on Save Changes. All right, now we get to the big one, incoming call handling. So this is how you tell your system how you're handling all those calls that are coming in on your main numbers. Now you notice along the top here, first off, we're on open hours. But you also have an after hours section and a holidays section. Right, they all have the same basic option. So open hours, first option here, calls come in, they're going to go to my virtual receptionist. This is a link. All right, so on my left, these are the dialing options that people will press on their phone to navigate through the phone system, right, the main menu. On my right are the greeting options. Now, you can click on Add Route, and that'll give you a new row. Again, you can select basically 0 through 9, and then you can select where it goes. Unfortunately, that's not allowing me to show you where it goes, but up here at the top, you can select the smart directory, right, so the company directory. You can have it go to a user, like it's currently set. I can scroll down a ways. I can send it to a call queue. Currently on Dash, there's two kinds of queues. There's standard queues and pro queues. Standard queues, I believe, start at $15 per month per queue, and pro queues are $99 per month per queue. You can also send it to a specific device, right? So whatever the name of these phones, like a cell phone, VoIP phone, etc. You can have it go to a media file, meaning it's playing a greeting. Now, after that greeting ends, the call is ended. And further down, we've got ring groups, advanced call flow for main DISA. DISA stands for Direct Inward System Access. For new accounts, it's actually not active right off the bat. If it's something you want, you have to send in a request, and we can activate it for you. Basically, it allows a cell phone or landline person to call in, enter in a PIN and an extension, and then they can make an outbound call using your phone number as the caller ID. And then, last option here is you can send it to a voicemail box. Now, each one of those things has a little different icon, so you can give an idea of what it's going to. So like a person, a voicemail box, a ring group, this is going to a queue, etc. Now, your greeting options here, text to speech. Basically, type in a greeting, click update, and then at the bottom here, you would click save and then save changes. Upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. But you would find the file on your computer, and then click update. You can also choose from an existing recording. This will be a pull down, which I don't think is, yeah. But then you can select one of your greetings that you've already made use of before. Record it with a phone. So by default, this is for use with a VoIP phone you have on the account. If you don't have VoIP phones, or you just want to use your cell phone or landline for whatever reasons, you just need to send in a request into our support team, so support@virtualpbx.com, and just state that you want to record a greeting using a main greeting using an outside line. That's something we can enable for you. You can then call in, record the greeting. We would ask that you let us know when you're done so we can put that flag back up. And that's just a security feature because you don't want someone calling in and just trying to put in random PIN numbers and then changing your main greeting on you. So something to keep in mind. So if you're a new sign up, right, when you called in that first time, you enter in the PIN, actually for anyone. When you enter that PIN number is specific to the time of day, right? So right now I'm in the open hours virtual receptionist. This PIN number only will work during my open hours, right? So the after hours PIN only works during after hours. The holiday PIN only works on your holidays. So that's the only time you can change those greetings over the phone. If you have a greeting already in place, right? So you have greeting A is currently your main greeting. If you call in and when the greeting plays, you hit your PIN number, it will then prompt you the system will then prompt you to record a greeting. That new greeting that you record, it takes over what's on greeting A, right? So the file name from greeting A stays the same. The content just gets overwritten with what you record. So that's something to be aware of. Obviously, if you've just signed up and you don't have a greeting in place, you don't have to worry about that. You can simply just call in, enter the PIN, then the system will walk you through recording a greeting. All right, professional recording services. If you click order, this will take you to a site hosted by Snap Recordings, which is a company we've partnered with. They have something like 80 to 100 voice actors to choose from, both men and women. They have different versions of English. I believe they still have different versions of Spanish and French, so you can do multilingual greetings. They have what they refer to as hold treatment, which is basically music file plays, then a script then a script is read by one of the voice actors, and then music, etc. They handle their own pricing, and they deliver via email. They handle their own billing, I guess we should say. And they also have options for like express delivery or express processing, something like that. Basically, they cut down the time. So if you're in a hurry, you can make use of them. All right, here we've got number of retries on this dial. Basically, you enter a digit anywhere from like 1 to 9, for example. For most customers, I recommend 2 or 3. But basically, what you're saying is someone can hit an invalid menu option 2 or 3 times before the system ends the call. Now, on the current setup, I still have a default route in place. So after that third mistry, the system will then send the caller to, in this case, a smart directory. Now, we don't typically recommend the default route for most customers these days just because of robodialing. Especially in the US with election season, you're probably getting texts and phone calls up the wazoo. So I would just do that and get rid of the default route, so don't have to worry about it. Oh, I wasn't aware they added some things to the settings. All right, so dialing timeout is how much time are you letting or telling the system wait after it hears a last button press before it assumes it's done. So this case is saying 10 seconds, which might be a little long. And I guess you don't have to email support anymore for allow outside recording. You can just turn that on yourself. So that's kind of cool. Any changes you make, go ahead and click on save. And then to be safe, you also want to click on save changes here. All right. Next up, ooh, too fast. Next up, we got this one here. So call comes in, I'm offering it to Bob Smith. If Bob's not able to answer, then it goes to my virtual receptionist, right? And this will have, since we're still under open hours, it's still going to be the same virtual receptionist that we just looked at. Now, you don't have to just offer it to Bob, right? You can add it. I can offer it to a queue. I can offer it to a ring group. I can offer it to a device. I think you can also offer it to a media file. Yeah, you can also offer it to a media file. But basically, the general purpose of this was to you giving a staff member or multiple staff members, in the case of queues and ring groups, a chance to answer the call first. If they're not able to, then the caller goes to the virtual receptionist to enter in a menu option or an extension. All right, third option here, call comes in, again, offering it to Bob, but if Bob's not able to pick up, then it's going to voicemail. Right, so basically, hey, you have the one chance to get someone to answer or go to voicemail. Now, again, you've got these different options here to send it to. So you can send it to different users, you can send it to a group, a queue, etc. This one also has an additional option where instead of trying to ring the people, you just say, hey, go straight to the voicemail box. Now, something to keep in mind for these middle two options here, when we're offering a call to a person, a group, or a queue, the system is hard-coded to only offer it for 20 seconds. And then it goes on to that next action. So you want to make sure that when you're offering calls to somebody, that they're probably using a VoIP device or a landline. Because if they're only using a cell phone, 20 seconds may not be enough time to reach a person on a cell phone. Right, and then this last option here is call goes into the main DISA. Basically, you're saying, hey, when people call in, enter an extension number, enter a PIN number, and then they can make an outbound call. And again, that's something for most accounts will have to be turned on, basically because our loss prevention team is concerned that this is a potential for fraud. Right, someone can figure out the extension and the PIN number, and then they're making outbound calls on your account without you knowing about it. Main conference number, you have a custom greeting here where basically it's a text-to-speech, so you can type it in and then click save. You can add from spare numbers or by numbers if you want multiple conference numbers. Main fax box number, again, you can have one number, so you can add from spare or by new if you don't have one assigned. Now, unfortunately, on this account, the fax box here is messed up because it's a test account. On your account, when you click edit fax box, you'll see two fields. The first field is to put in an email address. So basically to say who's getting notified when an inbound fax comes in. they get an email with an attachment of the PDF that they can then look at. The second field is who is allowed to make outbound faxes. So if, for instance, you have your own company name, domain, like abccleaners.com, right? Everyone at your company has an email that ends with @abccleaners.com. You can put that domain in that second field. Therefore, anyone at your company can send a fax out through Dash, even if they're not a user on Dash, right? They can just type up the email, again, +1, area code and phone number, @ the account realm, attach a PDF or TIFF. All right. Oh, I guess I should cover this. Auto attendance. This is a new feature, basically allowing you to have multiple auto attendants on your account, meaning you can have phone numbers that go to different greetings and different menu options. So basically, you would click on Add Attendant, you give it a name, and you give it an extension number. The reason for the extension number is that way if someone goes in on one of your numbers and needs to be transferred to one of your other companies, for example, your staff members can easily do that within the system. And then you would click on Settings here. And then here you see I have a virtual receptionist. And it's the same as before, right? You can choose menu options, you can have a different greeting, etc. On the phone number box, you can add multiple phone numbers. So if your various businesses have different number of phone numbers, they can each have multiple phone numbers. Etc. Just realized they changed the order over here on the left as well. All right, let's go over to users. So users, this is people who are making and receiving calls on your account. If you click on Add User, you put in their first name and their last name, the email address used for login. Again, that needs to be unique for each person. And then you create a password for them. And then next, you have a main extension number. Now, on this account, I started off with extension 1000. So the system is telling me, hey, the next available one in that series is 1029. I don't have to use that. I can back that out. I can make it 5410. Because I'm starting like a new, so in this sense where I have multiple attendants, right? I can make people under auto attendant 1, extension 1000s, under auto attendant 2, 2000s, etc., depending on how you want to separate it. All right. Now, by default, the system will automatically create a voicemail box for that user, and that voicemail box is intrinsically tied to that user. Then you got these other two options. First up is, do you want them to show up in the user directory? Put a check mark for yes. Next up, you have send email to alternate address. So by default, for any notification sent to a user, it goes to the email address they use to log in, right? So if they get a voicemail notification, for example. If instead you don't want it to go to that address, you click on the send to alternate address, put in a different email address, that's where all your notifications are going to be sent to. And then, in my opinion, the most important one is this last one, send credentials to the user, right? So basically, when you click on create user, the system will email that person their login information. And then when you're done, either create user, if you're only adding one person, if you're adding more, create user and add another. Once you have a user here, you can see the little gray person here icon, that's just a standard user. Person with the blue suit, that is one of your system admins, so they can do all the things we're talking about here. If you click on a person's name, you can change their name. You can change their credentials, i.e. their email address or the password. If you have a user that keeps forgetting their password that you create for them, you can also click right here, and the system will automatically send them the password reset email, so then they can create their own password, hopefully one they'll remember. Again, click on Save Changes. voicemail box PIN. If your staff members are using VoIP phones, they can set up their own voicemail box PIN. Basically, we're about to get to it, that when you add the VoIP device to a user, they can hit *98 from their VoIP phone. It will take them directly to their own voicemail box. And the first time they do that, the system will prompt them to enter in a PIN, as well as record a voicemail greeting. If your staff members are using cell phones or landlines, you do need to create a PIN number for them. You can send emails to alternate address. You can choose to do that or not. And then, yes, you have the option for putting them in the views directory or not. Over here, this pull down, you can change a user to be an admin or an admin back to a user. Just be careful. If you've just signed up and you're the only person on the account, it is possible to make yourself into a normal user, and then you would have no admins on your account. So just be aware, you should have at least one admin on your account. This is where you change your time zone. And you got the different areas. You can select the language. English, French, German, and Russian are your options. Ringing timeout. So by default on new users, the ringing timeout is 20 seconds. And as I mentioned previously, 20 seconds is not always enough time to get a call to a cell phone. So that's why in this case, we've upped it to 45 seconds, which is usually enough. So basically, what did you keep in mind? Like for when calls, if you have two calls, right? One going to a landline, one going to a cell phone, the landline will typically ring first because the landline, the telecom company associated with that landline knows exactly where that phone is, so it knows exactly where to send the call. Right? Call going to the cell phone provider has to find the cell phone first, right? And so it's pinging off all the towers. Then it finds, oh, here's that phone. Now we can route the call to it. That little bit of difference from your personal use perspective, right? You're never going to notice that. In terms of a phone system, the phone system does notice that. And that's why that 20 seconds may not be enough time. And it's not always consistent, right? Like you might initially set this up and it works fine going to your cell phone. You're like, oh, great, cool. And then 3 months later, you got like a missed call notification and you're getting the email saying you got a voicemail. You're like, my phone never rang. That could just be because you're in a busier area, so the cell phone didn't have enough time to get to you before the system said, oh, they didn't answer, send it to voicemail. So something to keep in mind. Main extension, and then the default caller privacy. Extensions, users can have multiple extensions. The best, or I guess the most understandable use case I found is with our head of our sales team. Basically, whenever a salesperson leaves the company, he takes over their extension. So that way, any voicemails he can get access to right off the bat, as well as any calls that come in, he can then either take himself or route to one of his other existing sales staff. Phone numbers. Again, users can have their own phone numbers. This phone number goes directly to Bob. Anyone who calls this number doesn't have to go to the virtual receptionist or whatever. They just go boom and start ringing on Bob's phone. Users can have multiple numbers. Again, you can buy numbers here or you can add from spare. Same process as earlier. Devices. So users can have multiple devices. There's basically no limit. Adding from spare devices means that the device already on the account, you just haven't assigned it to anyone yet, i.e. you're not using it yet. Or you can just add new device. When you click on here, you've got the first one here is SIP phone, right? So that's that physical VoIP phone that's sitting on someone's desk. These are the VoIP phone manufacturers that support, or what we support for auto provisioning. So you can select your manufacturer, and then you would select the model of phone. And then at the bottom, you would enter in a name for that device, Bob's phone, for example, and then the MAC address for the phone. So each phone has their own unique MAC address. It's often a sticker on the back of the phone, could be on the box that the phone came in the manual. Most phones, when you plug them in, you can click on their menu and then status and get the MAC address that way as well. But then you enter all that, you click on Create Device, and then you would click on Save Changes. As far as on the dashboard, you're done. For the VoIP phone itself, you would then need to get into the VoIP phone's web user interface. They often have an auto provisioning section, and then you enter in a URL. The specific URL you can find on our website under the dash support pages. You're looking for auto provisioning phones. So basically, it's telling the phone, hey, go here, right? Phone gets on the internet, goes to that URL, gets a config file because our system recognizes the MAC address of the phone. Your phone will reboot a couple of times, and then will show up as a green device on you or under your devices page, and then you can make and receive calls. Now, if your phone didn't show up under any of those manufacturers or your specific model under like you found your manufacturer, but your specific model wasn't there, then you would have to use a third-party soft phone to set that up. So let's go to soft phones. Boom, 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 soft phone. So first, warning message. Hey, you might be on a mobile device. Please be aware your E911 may not be accurate. Click on close. And then, boom, by default, you're on a third-party soft phone creation page. So you would give it a name, like Bob's phone. Now, you would use the SIP username, the SIP password, which if you click on the box, reveals password, and then your account realm to program that phone. We have guides for this for some devices, but there are so many different models and manufacturers out there. We don't have a guide for everyone. It's just not possible. But this is the information you'd use to program that device. Likewise, if you're using an actual soft phone application, that's not for VirtualPBX. Again, you'll use this information to provision that software to work with us. Now, since we're here, if you want to use a VirtualPBX soft phone, well, right here at the bottom where it says Use Third-Party Application, if you click on that, it flips it. So now you're going to be using a VirtualPBX application. You give it a device name, like Bob's soft phone. You click on Create Device, and then you click on Save Changes. So for the VirtualPBX soft phone, once you click on the Create Device and Save Changes, that person gets an email. Email has their login information saying, hey, this is what you use for making use of the soft phone app. Now, if you're going to use the soft phone on an Android phone or an iPhone, right, you just go to the App Store, download the app, you log in, you're good to go. If you want to use the soft phone on the desktop, right, so on a Windows machine or a Mac, there is a license fee associated with the soft phone. So you just want to go to the go to our web store, do a search for soft phone. Make sure you have your discount code handy. By the license, then you'll get an email, and we'll have a download link for the Windows or Mac. Or actually, we'll have a link for both, for the Windows and the Mac soft phone, which you can then download to your computer. You'll still have that email with the login information. You just log in. All right, let's go to cell phone and landline are the same. They just have different labels. But you give it a device name, and then you put the plus sign, the number 1, and then the area code and phone number of the device, right? And then you would click on Create Device. Now, when Dash offers a call to a cell phone or a landline, right, your phone will ring, you'll pick up. You will hear, this is a forwarded call. Please press 1. When you press 1, you're telling the system, yes, you're there, and yes, you want to take this call. And then connects the other person to you, you start talking. And this is the default device settings for a cell phone or a landline. Now, if, for instance, you're actually sending calls to, say, an automated answering service, well, your automated answering service can't press 1 to accept the call. So you need a way for that call still to get through. What you would do is under this advanced page here, you click Allow Use of Cell Phone's Voicemail. So now what happens is when we send a call to that phone number, we hear that pickup tone, we connect the call. We're not waiting for the 1 to be pressed. So if you did this on your actual cell phone, then if your cell phone voicemail picks up, the call ends up on your cell phone's voicemail. Some people want that, some people don't. So just be aware of that. Now, in that instance where calls are coming to your cell phone, right, on your phone's display, you normally see the phone number of the person who's calling you. And by default, when calls come in through Dash, that's what's going to happen. You're going to see that person's phone number show up on your phone. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe if you click this, uncheck Keep Provision Quality, what happens then is when the call comes to your cell phone, you see whatever of your company phone numbers that person called, so like your main number, that shows up on your cell phone. That's the caller ID. You're like, oh, wait, it's a work call. Boom. I'm going to take this to see if I can make some money. All right, landline, basically the same. Oh, web phone. Web phone, pretty straightforward. It is a kind of soft phone. Again, it makes use of Chrome or Firefox on a desktop or laptop computer. On mobile devices, I have been able to get it to work on my Android phone with Chrome. I've heard reports of people having problems with iPhone and Chrome or Firefox. So typically speaking, we say just make use of it on desktop or laptop computer. Now, you give it a device name, you click on Create Device, and then you click on Save Changes. The web phone, you access via webphone.virtualpbx.net. It's going to have a login page. You put in your Dash login information here, right? So same email address, your same password, and your same company name. And then your browser has a little dial pad. You can answer calls, you can make calls, you can put people on hold, etc. The main thing is for most devices, you can add on, all devices you can add directly to a user. You can also add via the devices page. The two that you want to make sure you add on the user's page is the web phone and the VirtualPBX soft phone, right? Just because it makes it a lot easier. Web phone makes use of the Dash login information, so it needs to know which user it's associated with. And for the VirtualPBX soft phone, the system needs to email that person their credentials. So it needs to be tied to a user. All right, let's go to user features. All right, so caller ID number, that's only going to work is if a person has a phone number. So we'll go up to Denard here. Right, I can set up caller ID number. If I turn it on, it says, hey, that's his phone number. Click Save to change it. So whenever Denard makes an outbound call, his caller ID is his phone number, the 703 phone number that he has here, versus the main company number. Right, call forwarding. So you have off, on, and failover mode. Off, hey, you're not using it. On means, hey, I'm not going to be at my normal phone. So for calls that come to me, send them to this other device. And then I click on Save Change. So now that device I'm sending to, right, that 408 number, should not be a device on my user. Right? This is something you don't use every day. Let's go back to that. Now, failover mode, this is for your VoIP phone users, right? So on the dashboard page where we said unregistered phones was like 17. So the system can detect when your VoIP phone goes offline. When that happens, and you have failover mode enabled, if a call comes into your user at the time that your VoIP phone goes offline, the system will automatically forward the call to your forwarding device, the cell phone in this case. Right, so you can still take the call, help the person, or take the order, or what have you, and then afterwards you're like, okay, why did my VoIP phone not ring, or why is it not working? You then go check on it. All right, hot desking, also a VoIP feature. This is for when you have staff in a shared office environment. where they're going to be switching desks from day to day, right? So today's Tuesday, I'm sitting at desk 7. We have hot desking enabled. I sit down at desk 7 at the VoIP phone. I pick up the handset. I hit *11. That turns on hot desking on that phone. It's going to ask me for the hot desk ID number that my admin hopefully already told me about, and then a PIN number if that was required. Once I do that, it says calls will now be forwarded to this device. So any call that comes to my user is going to ring it at that phone I'm sitting at. At the end of my day, I pick up the handset, I hit *12 to turn off hot desking, go about my business, right? Tomorrow morning when I walk in, someone's already sitting at desk 7. Oh, bummer. Whatever. I walk down the aisle, hey, desk number 32 is available. I sit down, I hit *11 again, enter in the hot desk ID, calls will now come to me at this phone. Voicemail box, again, every user by default gets a voicemail box created. Fax box. So you can set up a user to have their own individual fax box. Typically, it's for inbound faxing. Make you can have a number, or you can select an extension. I typically recommend for people to make use of a dedicated fax number, mostly because I guess I'm old enough that for me, when it comes to faxing, it's, you go to a fax machine, you hit the number that you're going to fax to, hit start fax, and then you walk away and get your coffee. Or you just come back later, check, make sure the fax went through. If on Dash, if you add use fax box with an extension, what has to happen is that person faxing has to call the main number, right? They have to listen. And when they hear the greeting, then they enter in the extension number, then they hit start fax, right? That might be a pain to get people to do consistently, which is why if you just put if you give a dedicated phone number to the fax box, then they just hit the number and walk away. But then you would click on Save Changes, and they can then have an inbound fax. Conference Bridge. Basically, when you enable it, it tells you your Conference Bridge phone number. Then here's your conference room number, typically matches your extension number, and then you can change the PIN. Now, one thing I should point out, for call forwarding and for the conference room PIN, your users can have some control over that. All right, for call forwarding, they can actually set that up themselves every time. They don't actually need an admin to do it. And then when we get to the user portal, it's where your users can change their conference room PIN to whatever they want it to be. But basically, when you enable this, you're saying that this person can host a conference on your account. All right, Follow Me is for people with multiple devices. You click Enable, and this is how it looks. So when you're starting, you're like, oh, it's not ringing anybody, which means calls will go to voicemail if you have this enabled and you don't adjust it at all. So first, you want to uncheck any of the phones you want it to ring to. Still only has 0 seconds, so these are sliders, right? So you can slide these out as much as you want. Up here at the top, or towards the top, I guess, that's the total ring time, right? So now it's bumped up to 120 seconds. I can change it down to 60, for example, or whatever. I can also determine, oh, wait, I want these phones to ring in an order, right? Because, like, my cell phone should have the last priority. So you click and drag the phones in the order you want it, then you click distribute. So now it's going to hit the soft phone here, then my web phone, and then lastly my cell phone. Right, and you can always change it around and click distribute again. And then when you're done, you click Save Changes. Music on hold. So you can set up individual hold music for your users, right? This would supersede the one we did on the dashboard page. You click Enable, and then you can upload a file, again, .wav.mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. Click the little upload icon, and then you would click on Save Changes when it's done uploading. Customize call recording. Let me go ahead and disable this first. so you can see what it looks like when I initially enable it. All right. So if I hit click enable and save changes, I haven't actually changed anything because I'm not recording anything. But then you have these 4 options. So inbound internal means my coworker Bob called me. Right? Inbound external means a customer called me. Outbound internal means I called my coworker Bob. And then outbound external means I called a customer. So you choose which of these you actually want to record, and then you click on Save Changes. And then going forward, any calls on this user will be recorded. And then lastly, you've got Do Not Disturb, where you can say, hey, calls to this user go straight to voicemail. All right, let's go up to Groups. So Groups is shorthand for ring groups. Basically, a department or another way to look at it is a group of people who answer calls about a similar topic. To create a group, click on Add Group at the top here. You give it a name, you give it an extension number, and then you click and drag everyone you want to be in the group. And then you click on Create Group. Once you've created a group, you can click on the name. You can always change the name. And then you've got dialing and repeats. Basically, how many times can a caller go through everyone in the group? In this case, I have it set to 3. Obviously, you can delete a group. And if you make any changes, click on Save Changes. Now, if you click on the members box, you can see, okay, these are all the people in the group. The system is going to offer calls for 120 seconds, 2 minutes. Now, similar to Follow Me Calling, I can click Distribute, so it rings people in order. Likewise, I can say, oh, wait, I can change the order around, click Redistribute. Or I could just say, you know what, instead of ringing everyone in order, whoever can first get the call gets the call. It's just going to ring everybody at the same time for the same amount of time. This is referred to as blast ringing. Right? I can add additional people down here at the bottom, and I can remove people who are already in it over here. Again, you can change this total here to be 240 or 190 or whatever many seconds you want it to be. Groups can have extensions as well as their own phone number. Right, they can add for new or vice versa. This is having both an extension and a phone number. That's not something like, so for ACD queues, can only have one or the other, right? They can have a phone number or they can have an extension, but not both. And don't forget, groups and queues can also be menu options on your virtual receptions. And then we've got group features. All right, bringing back, basically you can play a music file while your inbound caller is waiting for one of your staff members to pick up, right? So hold music. Essentially, you can upload your own file, .wav.mp3, recorded mono under 1 megabyte. The main thing is that this file the duration of that file should match your ringing time, right? So by default, 120 seconds. So this file under ringback should be 120 seconds long because the system doesn't automatically loop it. All right, next action. So if you want to basically add an action if no one picks up, right? I click enable. So if no one answers, I'm sending it to this voicemail box. I can send it to a specific user. I can send it to another group. I can send it to a queue, as well as specific users, as well as and voicemail boxes. Allow call forward. If you enable this, you're allowing your users to make use of call forwarding, so they can still answer the call. And then caller ID prepend. Again, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can add either additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID, so your staff members have an idea of what the call is about, right? So if you have staff members in multiple groups or groups and queues, etc., having that little like heads up about, oh, this is about this kind of subject can help your staff member. All right, devices. Again, shows all the devices on the account. Green means it's connected, i.e. we can send a call to it. Red means it's not, i.e. unregistered. Black means it's disabled, which you can change by clicking on, and it'll show that as red. All right, you can add devices here at the top. But again, the main caveat is for the VirtualPBX soft phone and the web phone, you want to do that on the user's page. Greetings, this is the greetings manager. You can see all the various greetings you have added to the account. You can see their name, the source, TTS, text-to-speech. Recording means they recorded over the phone. Upload means it was an uploaded file. You can download the file here so you can listen to it to see if it's still relevant. And if you click on the little wrench icon, you can then change the name or delete the file. All right, numbers. Shows all the numbers on the account. And these are the ones you're using, right? So numbers in use, these are going somewhere. If you click the spare numbers, these are numbers you're not using. If you want to delete a number, it needs to be a spare number first. You click on the box in front of the number. Now you've got the option to delete. You say, yes, I want to delete that number. It says, yes, successfully deleted. The number is removed, and I just saved a little money on my account. Right? You can buy numbers here. And again, if you buy numbers on the numbers page, they're automatically going to spare numbers. And then you can move them as needed. The port is to move a number from another carrier to VirtualPBX, right? So from T-Mobile to VirtualPBX, you would say new port request, and then you would start following the on-screen instructions. The main things is we need a completed and signed letter of agency, or LOA. You can actually download a blank one through this process here, as well as finding it on our website under the support pages. For local numbers, we also need a copy of your most recent bill. And you can submit both of those via this process here. You can also just email us a completed and signed LOA and the copy of the bill to porting@virtualpbx.com. They'll still process the port request that way. Local numbers can take anywhere from a day to 6 weeks, depending on the other carrier. Toll-free numbers, usually within about 5 business days, give or take. The main thing about the letter of agency, or the LOA, is when it asks for your company information, that's what it wants there is what your current carrier has on file. So let's say you're moving a T-Mobile number to us, it needs to have what T-Mobile has for you. Like, so your address, your company name, etc., should all be what T-Mobile has on file for you. It should be what's on the LOA. It does need to be signed. It could be a digital signature. It just can't be typed all the way through, especially where it says signature. One thing to keep in mind, if you are porting a mobile number, one, you will need a PIN number, which is an account PIN number, which you typically have to get from the other carrier. That's a security feature on their side to make sure numbers aren't ported just randomly away. And the reason they have that is because when you port away a cell phone number, the cell phone that's associated with that phone number will stop working when the port completes. Right? The only way around that would be to get another phone number from your cell phone provider. All right, voicemail boxes. Shows all your voicemail boxes. Your users will have one under their name listed under the user field. You can create your own voicemail boxes here, right? Give it a name, voicemail number, and a PIN number. Click on Create New Voicemail Box. And you would do that for like your ring groups or for your queues, for example. If you click on Advanced, you've got the greeting media. Now, you can upload a file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in MILE. in mono, excuse me. You can also record any voicemail box greeting over the phone. You just dial into one of your main numbers, hit *97, that says access voicemail. Then it's going to ask you for the voicemail box number and then the PIN number. And then you can get into personal options after listening to any messages. Now, you see here we also have a temporary greeting. If you have a temporary file selected, that temporary file will play instead of the normal media file. So like Bob's on vacation for a week, I can put in his vacation voicemail greeting as a temporary file. And then when he gets back, I just put this back to none for the temporary, and his normal media file will play, right? His normal voicemail greeting. Recipients for any voicemail box you create, or even the ones that are created for the users, right? So for any manually created voicemail box, you want to add a recipient so someone knows that a voicemail was added or left on this particular box. And then for any of your user voicemail boxes, you can add additional email notifications. So on top of the person himself. And then we've got the options. So once a voicemail box has a greeting and recipients, then you can click on that it's already set up. And then the main ones that come into that people tend to change are these bottom two, or these last three here. So voicemail boxes on Dash can hold up to 100 messages. Once you get to 100, if someone else tries to leave a message, they get an announcement saying the voicemail box is full, to try again later. Now, by default, new voicemail boxes, when they're created, they have the delete after notification enabled, because the system will email the associated user their voicemail, right? And they'll have an attachment so they can just listen to it. So that way, if you have delete after notification enabled, you don't have to worry about that person's voicemail box getting full. Now, if your users don't want to get their voicemails via email, like they prefer checking it through the user portal or checking it over their phone, then you would uncheck delete after notification. And then it's up to the user or you as an admin to go back in later to delete voicemail messages. Likewise, the attached email messages email, right? You can uncheck that if you just want people to get the notification that there's a voicemail, but you don't want them to have the voicemail itself, right? Again, you want to make sure you're basically forcing your staff to check either over the phone or through the user portal. Advanced routing. Now, some of these are actually mostly for our customers who were migrated to Dash to mimic some of the features they had on vConsole. So this was the direct inward system access. I edit this. So I can create a PIN number. And again, this is saying, actually here, let me add an extension to it here. So let's save changes. All right, so what I just did is when someone calls into a main number, or one of my main numbers, from a cell phone or a landline, for example, they can then hit extension 1029. Then the system will ask them for this PIN number. When they enter the PIN number, they'll get dial tone again. They can then dial one area code phone number of someone they want to reach, right? So then they're making an outbound call through the system. The caller ID that shows up on the person they're calling is going to be the main number they called in on, not their cell phone number. And that's one of the reasons why you would want this up. Right, call logs. This basically shows your call activity on the account. The green arrow to the right means it's an inbound call. The orange arrow to the left means it's an outbound call. You can click on a call to get some additional details, like where the call was going. So here you can say it actually tried different, looks like phone numbers, cell phones possibly. The little fire hydrant here, if you click on this, this will create an email with going to support@virtualpbx.com. It'll have some technical details. Just in the body of that email, just tell us what you experienced, right? So like say on this instance, I can say, this says a call came in, but I can say in the body, say, hey, my phone number rang even though the system says it tried. That at least gives an idea of what happened so we can look on what's going on with your devices. Right, you can do a custom date range, and then you can download the file as a .csv, so you can do a search. Feature codes, again, I've mentioned a few of these. These are just essentially dial pad shortcuts on your VoIP phones that you can use to make use of different features. The voicemail ones, like the *97, you can use from any phone, right? You just have to dial into the main number first and then hit *97. Whereas on a VoIP phone, you can literally pick it up and hit *97, and it'll ask you for the voicemail box you want to deal with. These are also published on our website under Dash Support. There's a feature codes link, and it'll have them all there, so you don't have to always log in here to see your feature codes. One new one is this one here, the direct extension pickup. So *87. So basically, I can be sitting at my desk, and my coworker Bob's phone is ringing. Right, Bob's not at his desk, or I know he said, hey, if my phone rings, can you pick it up for me? Instead of like walking over to his desk and picking it up, I can, from my voice phone, I can hit *87 and Bob's extension number, and I pick up the call, and I can start talking. All right, let's go over here to the horizontal line icon menu. So ACD queues. So this account is set up with standard ACD queues. So that's anywhere from $15 to $30 per month per queue. All right, adding a new queue is right here, but I'm going to go ahead and click on the year icon because it'll show me the same field. All right, queue name. Again, you give it a name. You can call in number or extension, so choose an extension or a phone number. Now, again, this is on top of it being a menu option. Then we've got the configuration. So queue routing strategy, unfortunately, the pull down doesn't work on this one, but round robin basically equals out over time for the agents that are logged in. You also have an option to ring all, so you can blast everybody at the same time. You have least idle, so whoever's been waiting for the call the longest gets the next call that comes in. You have least offered, right? So whoever's had the least amount of calls sent their way gets the next call that comes in. So say Bob's had 20 offered, Mary's had 10. The next call that comes in goes to Mary. There's also least calls. So in that situation where Bob's had 20 offered calls, let's say he's only actually spoken to 3 people. Mary's had 10 offered calls, but she's actually spoken to 8 people. The next call that comes in under least calls would go to Bob because he's had the least amount of connected calls between those 2 people. All right, hold treatment, kind of cut off here, but you can upload a media file, right? .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono. Now on Q's Pro, the hold treatment is much more granular. You can add things like the position, right? The hold position that the person is in. You can also add the expected wait time. You can have different media files. You can add multiple media files if you want, that sort of thing. So it's a lot more configurable under Q's Pro. Queue timeout measured in seconds, basically how much time can that inbound caller wait on hold. Queue call limit, you can limit the number of calls that come into a queue. In this case, 0 means there's no limit. Timeout immediately if empty. So if none of your staff members is logged in and you enable this, the system treats the call that comes in as if they already hit the timeout. Escalation queue, you can send it to a second queue. Basically means your staff members weren't able to pick up the call and or the person on hold hit the queue timeout, sending the call to a different queue. Or you can have escalation call flow after timeout. Basically, they hit that 3,600 seconds, or there's no one in the queue. You can send them to a device or a person, another media file. Typically, though, people are going to probably send it to, say, a voicemail box. So the inbound caller can leave a message. Then you've got agent behavior. Agent recovery time measured in seconds, anywhere from, well, 0 means they have no recovery time. Usually it's like 15 to 30 seconds. But basically, after an agent is done with a call, this is how much time the system will wait before it offers them another queue call, right? So they have time to update their notes or get a sip of water, etc. If you force away on rejected or missed, basically if an agent misses a call, the system will put them in away status, and that agent needs to manually put themselves back in ready before they can get another call. And then agent connect timeout is how much time the system is offering a call to an agent every time. So in this case, 20 seconds. Now here is the little members icon. If you click on that, these are all the people who are in your queues. If you click manage members, the side on the left, these are people not in the queues yet, right? So these are just your normal staff members. Over here on the right, these are people who are already in the call queues in some fashion, right? You can click on multiple people and click add as members, and that'll move them over to the right. And likewise, you can click on people here and move them to the left so that they're no longer in the queues. So you go back to queues. Now, for agents, right, so your staff members would click on queues. They would get to this page. They would click on begin session, and they're in a way status by default, right? And then when they're ready to take calls, they mark themselves as ready. And then you see here, like I'm in this queue right here. If I click on this, you can see, hey, I'm ready to take a call. Up here is a little phone icon. So this is where staff members can choose which phones they're sending a call to, right? So now queues, you can only take calls on a VoIP device, right? In ring groups, you can use cell phones, landlines, or VoIP phones. In queues, you can only use VoIP devices currently. Another advantage of Queues Pro is you have a performance icon in the middle here, so you can compare two agents to each other in terms of like how many calls they're getting versus they're missing. Another thing that Queues have, or Queues Pro has, is when you click on a particular queue, you can see the performance status or activity log, so you can see when a call comes in, who was offered to, etc. And then I'm going to go ahead and end my session here. All right, next up we got blacklists. So blacklist is basically so you can block calls from reaching your system. So you would click on edit blacklist. You would click add to create a new one, or you can use an existing list. You give it a name. Block anonymous means if we don't get valid caller ID, you're going to block the call from reaching our system. And then otherwise you would add a number, right? And then you put +1 area code and phone number. And then you would click add to add more numbers. And then you would click save. You go back to settings, and then you want to click and drag the list over. So these are the lists that are active, right? So these numbers cannot reach my system. When I click update, so now when any phone numbers that are on either one of those two lists try to call any of my numbers on my account, they just get a busy tone. So they're not going to get through. All right, any admin can get to any fax box on the account by clicking on faxes. You can select the inbound fax box as well as the outbound faxes for a particular person. And then you can also do the email to fax logs to see what kind of errors people are running into. Monitor, I believe, is not currently available on the accounts, but eventually what this should be available is that it's going to allow you to see the status of your staff members. Green means they're waiting for a call. Blue means they're on an inbound call. Red, they're marked away. Yellow, they're on an external call. And gold is they're on recovery time from a queue. The recordings manager, that takes you to your call recordings hosted by AWS, and that uses your same login information as your Dash login. Reports is in beta. If you already have an account with us and you're interested in the reports, you're going to want to talk to our services team to get pricing and to see if you can get into the beta. The user portal, everyone can get to their own user portal. This is where you would check your voicemail, right? So if I have delete after notification enabled, but if I didn't, I could listen to my voicemails, I could save them, I could download them to my computer, etc. Call history, I can see the calls that came into my user or out from my user, and to when and where. Faxes, if I had a fax box on my user, it would show my fax list. The contact list, this shows all your Dash information, right? So all the other users on the account, the groups, the queues. You're not actually able to add your own information, right? So like if I wanted to add my best customer is Martha, I would not be able to add her to this list. Right? This is only within your Dash account. In conferencing, again, I can host a conference. Right, here's where I can change the moderator pin. So usually what I use is my pin number. And then here's where I can change my participant pin. Over here, I can invite other Dash users, so my coworkers, to a conference. I can lock a conference so other people can't join. I can mute everybody, unmute everybody. I can end the call. When you're actually in a conference on a participant level, you can actually mute specific people. You can kick particular people as well. And then you've got the options here, like mute people when they join, or make them deaf when they join, play an entry tone, and play an exit tone. Settings and devices, this is where your users can set up their own call forwarding, as well as check the status of their devices. Also for call forwarding, there is a feature code that they could do it from their VoIP phone. So something to keep in mind there. Voicemail, again, any admin, you can get to any voicemail box on the account. Just select the voicemail box and you'll see what's available. And then lastly, we've got webhooks. That's if you want to link Dash to other software, making use of APIs. If you're interested in webhooks, you're going to want to contact our sales team. They have additional resources for you. And that is everything. I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and I'm going to hang out for a minute or so to see if anyone has any questions. But if you don't, I thank you for your time today. But as I said, I'll wait around for a minute or so to see if anyone has any questions. not seeing any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Again, I thank you for your time today and hope you have a wonderful day.